As a project leader, one of the most important things you can do is to give good quality feedback to your team members. But there are many different ways to give feedback. So in this video, I want to look at what those ways are and, crucially, how to determine which is the appropriate type of feedback to give in any circumstance. Let's start with why we give feedback. Everyone says feedback is important. It's important to seek feedback, it's important to give feedback. But why? Well, the first reason is about performance improvement. It helps the performer to learn. If you give good feedback to me, I've done a piece of work, then I can learn from my experience and I can learn from your reflections upon it. If my performance improves, then as an organisation, we can avoid the risk of expensive mistakes and wasteful rework. And of course, that has a benefit both to me as the performer and to anyone else in the organisation of reducing the stress of doing the work. So the first reason is about learning, stress reduction, and avoidance of wastage. But the second reason is about motivation. Good quality feedback is intrinsically motivating, because one of the biggest motivators for anyone in the world at work is the feeling that we are learning and improving and growing and becoming more expert at what we do. And feedback is a tool to help us achieve that. If we performed well, then feedback is motivating because it tells us that we have reached a level and we can therefore feel proud of what we've done. If we need to improve our work, then good quality feedback shows us how to do that and therefore is motivating because it drives us in the direction of something we intrinsically desire. And my third reason for good quality feedback is it helps to align expectations. When you give me feedback, then together we understand one another's expectations. You understand what I am expecting to do. I understand what you are expecting me to do. And that alignment of expectations avoids disappointment. It avoids me disappointing you when I do the wrong job. And it avoids me feeling disappointed when I do what I think I'm supposed to do and I don't get the rewards that I'm expecting, because it wasn't what you were hoping for. If you're briefing someone to do some work, the most important thing you can tell them is what good and what excellent look like. Broadly, there are two types of feedback, which we can call non-judgmental and judgmental feedback. Non-judgmental feedback does not give an assessment in terms of satisfaction or what's right and wrong about what has been done. It doesn't apply a judgment. What it does is helps the performer to understand what they've done and how they've done it and what the consequences are. Non-judgmental feedback is ideal for learning, particularly in someone who is keen to learn and is confident about their ability to learn. It helps them to understand the situation carefully and through well-crafted facilitation and questioning helps them to further develop their insights into what they've done and the impact that it's had. And therefore it is well suited to confident, resilient, motivated individuals. The ideal context for non-judgmental feedback is in a coaching style conversation. This can be a short-form conversation. Oh, what happened there? Let's explore it. What do you think that means? Or it can be in a long-form coaching conversation over 15, 20, 30, 60 minutes if we're talking about a big, meaty subject or feedback on a large, complete piece of work. The alternative to non-judgmental feedback, of course, is judgmental feedback. Feedback that draws a judgment about what has been achieved. There are three types of judgmental feedback. The first is positive judgmental feedback, which looks for what is good in what the performer has achieved and focuses on that. The second is negative judgmental feedback, sometimes known as critical feedback, which looks for the problems and focuses on them. And, with no surprise at all, the third type is balanced judgmental feedback, which looks to balance the good and the bad. Before we look at the relative benefits of positive and negative judgmental feedback, I want to say a little bit about balanced judgmental feedback and an old favourite of the training industry, the feedback sandwich. The feedback sandwich says, tell them something good so that they're enthusiastic about the feedback, then give them the bad news about the mistake they've made, but then end with something good so that they feel good at the end rather than down. The problem with that, and if you've seen our video on making communication memorable, is that the recency and the primacy effects both kick into play. We remember the first thing we hear, we remember the last thing we hear, we don't remember the stuff in between. So it is too dangerous to give that feedback sandwich, because people may go away forgetting the critical feedback, which is important, in the middle, and only think that they got good, positive, judgmental feedback, which may not be balanced at all. A former colleague of mine used to talk about the feedback burger. Here, we had a different way of creating balance. Firstly, we do give the positive judgmental feedback. We do that because it creates a rapport. If you point out to me something that I've done well and I know I've done it well, then I will start to trust your feedback and I'll feel good about it. And if you point out to me something I've done well and I didn't know, then I'll have a warm glow. Then you create the balance by giving me the critical feedback, the negative judgmental feedback that tells me about the things I need to improve. But if you think about a burger bun, it is not the same on the bottom as it is on the top. The top often is more rounded and it has seeds on it. The last layer of the feedback burger is not to remind me of all the good things I've done so that I get that you've given me some critical feedback. Rather, it's about reminding me that you value my contribution and that although I have made some mistakes, you are there to support me, to guide me, and to help me through. You haven't lost your confidence in me simply because I've made mistakes, but you're there to support me. And that positive end is a positive emotional end rather than a positive feedback message. That way it retains the balance of the positive judgmental feedback we led with and the negative judgmental feedback we felt we needed to give. The question then arises, when is it more appropriate to give negative judgmental feedback and when is it more appropriate to give positive judgmental feedback? And to help answer that question, we need to identify 3 broad levels of performance. The first level is underperformance, a level of performance which is not acceptable. Then we have a second level, which is standard performance. It meets all of the necessary criteria, but doesn't excite anybody. The third level does. This is powerhouse performance. This is peak performance. This is the ideal performance level that everyone could, should, may want to get to. This is the level of performance that you will really celebrate. Now, if someone is between the level of underperformance and standard performance, then you should weight your feedback towards negative judgmental feedback. This is about correcting mistakes. It's about enforcing rules. It's about analysing shortcomings and failures. If someone's performance is too low, then whilst they need the endorsement of your support and guidance, they do need to know what to correct to make things right. But once someone gets to a standard level of performance, which is good, then if you focus too much on the negative judgmental feedback, you will demotivate them. Importantly, you will also rob them of the ability of figuring out how to achieve peak performance. Because we tend to go from standard to peak performance primarily through figuring out what really works. This is then where we apply a significant weighting towards positive judgmental feedback, possibly pure positive judgmental feedback. This is about identifying what someone has done well and helping them to figure out ways that they can do more of it, the ways that they can make it into a habit, the way that they can extend what they have learned about what they have done well to improve their performance all around. Your job is to evaluate the excellence that they have shown, to point it out to them, to celebrate that success, and to help them to figure out how to get more of it. This will be entirely motivating, and anyone who can achieve standard performance can figure out ways to improve it further. Too much negative judgmental feedback will just get them focusing on the wrong things. It is easier to improve upon a strength and to build upon a strength than it is to overcome a weakness. And someone who is at standard performance level doesn't have much in the way of weaknesses, so focusing on them is fundamentally dishonest. So here we have, I suppose, 4 forms of feedback. We have non-judgmental feedback, we have balanced judgmental feedback, we have negative judgmental feedback for people who need to reach a good standard of performance, and we have positive judgmental feedback for people who have achieved a good standard level of performance and are reaching for excellence. Your job is to balance all 4 of those approaches to meet the needs of each individual in each situation where they find themselves. Please do give a thumbs up if you like this video. I'll be making loads more great project management content, so please do subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of it. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.